Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tactical Wisdom. Um, somebody just asked, Sten just asked how spicy we're expecting it to get. I am in the bunker. We're in war gear. Who knows, right? It's probably going to get a little spicy. Um, so we wanted to go live a few minutes before Putin talks to maybe chat and discuss what we think he's going to say today. And I am joined by the clear and present danger, that is Sniper. Um, how are you this afternoon?
Well, this evening I got two tiny humans sleeping behind me and a bottle of Elijah Craig small batch so that I can celebrate the end of the world.
So that's probably the first thing that we should discuss. What are the rules tonight, right? Um, the rules are this: you take a drink every time he says the word NATO,
Oh fuck!
uh, he says the word escalation,
Oh, I'm gonna die.
uh, right? The word Nazi and the word Azov.
Okay, well at this point I need to go get a 1.75 liter because the Elijah Craig's not gonna make it.
Now, I'm just telling you that these are the issues that I would be watching for, because these topics are all going to come up. So, let's first talk about the news that's coming out of there. And I apologize, I didn't have the I don't have all the cool music, because I don't have a watcher tonight. Maybe Sniper could beatbox a little bit for us or something. I don't know. Um, but you know what? Better yet, let's not. Let's just not. So the first story we have is that pro-Moscow officials in occupied Ukraine to hold Russian annexation votes. We already knew this was coming. We knew it was coming for Luhansk and Donetsk, but they're also going to be throwing in votes also in Zaporizhia and Kherson. Now, where that comes into problems for a lot of other people is that they claimed that in the Kherson region there was a counteroffensive and they were going to retake Kherson. It didn't go quite the way that they wanted it to go. So these Ukrainian Marines came running up towards these, oops, flip it over, Russian Marines, and they fought, but the Ukrainian Marines ran away, and the Russian Marines are still there. I thought that graphic would help you all, understand what happened in Kherson. Um, I pointed out when everyone started cheering the Ukrainian offensive that Russia is well known for the strategic withdrawal to attempt to draw you into a trap. And so essentially what they did is they knew they couldn't hold both, so they shortened their lines up in a region they didn't really want, Kharkiv they didn't really want. Um, they were using that for pressure. They couldn't hold it. They
No,
shortened that in order to reinforce Kherson, and here they are.
I mean,
What was that?
largely the point of this has been to get all the waterfront or get as much of the waterfront as they feel like they can get since the beginning. And it's been pretty obvious that they want as much of the water as they can get. You know, they want all the warm water portage they can get to. And so, well, was anybody really surprised that they didn't care that much about the part up north?
Well, exactly. They were trying to use that as a bargaining chip, and what I think you'll probably see tonight is some talking about where that can go, right? They'd be willing to let go of the gains they have in the north in exchange for a little more along the south, or maintaining the status quo, letting them have all the way across the Dnieper River like they have down there. But I want to address something here from Mr. Antikami, his commentary about baby making time. I'm not in charge of when Vladimir Putin starts talking, just so you know. That's what we're waiting for.
Relevant.
So Vladimir Putin is scheduled to start talking here in just under 25 minutes.
Oh,
We're going
by the
to
way,
attempt to carry it live from Sky News. What's that?
you are getting just a little bit crackly every once in a while. So why don't you throw me the Sky News link and I'll watch it and you can actually close it and see if it lets you have some bandwidth back.
Okay, it's yeah.
Sorry
Who knows
guys,
if
live
it,
editing, but you know he lives in
right?
third world domain, so
Well, no, I actually do have a pretty serious thunderstorm going on right now. and my lights have been flickering quite a bit. So who knows? Let's drop this over here. Boom.
There.
So if my audio gets bad, I will drop the camera, but uh, I don't.
So
I don't
far,
really need.
it's just a little bit. You're okay.
So here's a story that lists the 4 regions scheduled for the vote. This is a lovely Ukrainian home in Kherson. But basically, it shows that they're going to start them in Luhansk, Kherson, Zaporizhzhia, which is interesting. It's not completely Russian controlled yet. They're going to hold the vote, and Donetsk. So the story is what they did in Crimea is they ruled that all Russian citizens can vote along with the Ukrainian citizens. And to establish
Which means the
citizenship, you
army
had to
can.
have been in the region for what's that?
Which means the army
I'm
can.
sorry.
Which means the
Which means
Russian
the army
army
can. If
can.
you've been in the area within one day, you can vote, and that's how he pulled it off in Crimea, and that's what he's going to probably pull off here too. So Dmitry Medvedev, who used to be the president and who will probably be the next president after Putin, uh, says that if the votes go through, then it will be irreversible. There's no way to take them out of Russia, which will send Zelensky and the wider West through the roof. And that's really where I expect to see a lot of Vladimir Putin's rhetoric is on the West and saying, "Hey, listen, you can't just take these countries." And he's going to say that you got to stop supporting the Ukraine because, quite frankly, if we hadn't been supporting the Ukraine, we would have a peace agreement by now. So
Yeah.
he's going to be making those threats. He's going to be threatening about what's the matter? Am I having are we having audio problems still? Is that what's going on in the chat?
A little bit.
A little bit. All right. Well, there, that ought to solve it. Um, so he's going to be threatening to conduct strikes or escalate the war if the West, being NATO, continues to supply Ukraine at the level in which they are. And the problem with that is that the only thing we're going to do is continue to supply more and more stuff to the Ukrainians. Which brings us to a photo here in just a second. I believe that's Germany's problem comes in too with their gasoline and their economy is that with all of the natural gas that's being held up by Russia, they can't produce as much as they used to. And Russia has essentially said, "Hey, if you guys just stop supplying equipment to the Ukraine, we will be able to restore your energy." And so the people of Germany have said that, "Hey, man, we would like that to happen," but the foreign minister said, "Hey, I don't care what the voters say. I'm going to do what I want to do." So, Sniper, you got any commentary on that? I'm trying to unfreeze my computer here.
Oh, you're good. The more interesting part to me on this is the pain has been ratcheted out at a level that's kind of amazing. Further away, even in Britain, they're talking about total inflation because of energy inflation running up to 50%, and I think that's the similar in Denmark, France, and or not France, Spain and Germany, and it's all just because, well, we won't stop, and the truly dastardly part about this is Europe is going to, in fact, Europe mostly has laid down and stopped sending stuff. They're still talking big, but they have mostly stopped sending stuff at this point. But we ain't gonna, apparently. So
Right.
I guess we just want them to all freeze to death.
Yeah. Hey, I'm frozen. I'm going to drop out and come right back.
Okay.
I think.
So this is I am the captain now. This is my ship now. So let's see here. I'm gonna read this AP article for a minute while he gets himself sorted out here. So it's four Ukrainian regions schedule votes this week to join Russia. Apparently, this was archived a little over 12 hours ago. Russian-controlled regions of eastern and southern Ukraine announced plans Tuesday to start voting this week to become integral parts of Russia because apparently I just can't words. The concerted and quickening Kremlin-backed efforts to swallow up four regions could set the stage for Moscow to escalate the war following Ukrainian successes on the battlefield. Escalate, drink, but more on that in a second because escalate might be too small of a word. The scheduling of referendums starting Friday in the Luhansk, Kherson, and partly Russian-controlled, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Donetsk regions came after a close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin said the votes are needed. And as Moscow is losing ground in the invasion it began nearly 7 months ago, it is increasing pressure on the Kremlin for a stiff response. Former President Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy head of Russia's Security Council, chaired by Putin, said that referendums that fold regions into Russia itself would make the redrawn frontiers irreversible and enable Moscow to use any means to defend them. So they're kind of they're putting the nuclear threat on the table without saying they're putting the nuclear threat on the table. That's what I'm getting from that. By the way, Joe, stop sharing your screen. There we go. I'll keep reading it because I have it on my monitor as well. The votes in territory Russia already controls are all but certain to go Moscow's way, but are unlikely to be recognized by Western governments. Let's just say hell will freeze over before they'll recognize them, who are backing Ukraine with military and other support that has helped its forces seize momentum back on battlefields in the east and south. The Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to try, denounced them as a sham and tweeted, Jesus Christ. Can I just say, Twitter having taken over how you do foreign relations has made foreign relations just as dumb as everything else. I'm just saying that Ukraine has every right to liberate its territories and will keep liberating them, whatever Russia has to say. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan slammed the planned votes. Color me surprised. We will never recognize this territory as anything other than part of Ukraine, he said, adding that they reflect Russia's setbacks on the battlefield. These are not the actions of a confident country. These are not acts of strength, he said. To be fair, he kind of has a point, in so much as... Oh, hang on, stand by. In so much as Russia is trying to solidify this now so that they can make it part of a national push, they can make it a reason to be patriotic, and so that they can put certain threats back on the table. It does tend to indicate that they're worried, at least in certain ways. Holy crap, the echo. Joe?
No echo.
Are you still having trouble?
Obviously.
Sorry. Did you want me to just keep reading this?
Yes.
All right. So in New York, where he's attending the UN General Assembly, the German Chancellor, Scholz, said it is very, very clear that these sham referendums cannot be accepted. Like I said, cold day in hell. Latvian Foreign Minister Edgars Rinkevics called for more sanctions against Russia and more weapons for Ukraine, tweeting, "We must say no to Russian blackmail." I swear to Christ, let's. If we could stop doing politics and fucking foreign relations on Twitter, that would be great. Thanks. In Donetsk, part of Ukraine's wider Donbas region that has been gripped by rebel fighting since 2014, when we overthrew their government, and which Putin has set as a primary objective of the invasion, separatist leader Denis Pushelin, Jesus, I managed that one, said the vote will restore historic justice to the territory's long-suffering people. Keep in mind, they have been in a constant state of war since 2014. There are parts of Donbass that are literally, that used to be real pretty and now are just parking lots. They, quote, have earned the right to be part of the great country that they have always considered their motherland, he said. In partly Russian-occupied, not even going to try it, pro-Russia activist Vladimir Rogov said, the faster we become part of Russia, the sooner peace will come. I mean, no, but it's nice to hope. Pressure inside Russia for votes and from Moscow-backed leaders in Ukrainian regions that Moscow controls increased after Ukrainian counteroffensive bolstered by Western-supplied weaponry. Let me rephrase that. Completely run by Western-supplied weaponry that has recaptured large areas. Former Kremlin speechwriter and Russian political analyst Abbas, I can't pronounce that either, said on Facebook, Jesus Christ, if we're not doing it on Twitter, we're doing it on Facebook, that Moscow-backed separatists appeared scared that the Russians will abandon them amid the Ukrainian offensive and forged ahead with referendum plans to force the Kremlin's hand. Let me refresh the Sky News thing. Nope, it's still not running. And this is exactly my show now, apparently. Let's see here. In another signal that Russia is digging in for a protracted and possibly ramped-up conflict, the Kremlin-controlled lower house of parliament voted Tuesday to toughen laws against desertion, surrender, and looting by Russian troops. So, so the FSB, standing behind the army, saying, if you even turn around and look this way, we're shooting you in the head. I have the vibes of the Great Patriotic War. I'm just saying. Lawmakers also voted to introduce possible 10-year prison terms for soldiers refusing to fight, if approved as expected by the upper house and then signed by Putin. The legislation would strengthen commanders' hands against failing morale reported among soldiers. Now, it's at this point, I just have to point out at this point that they are going to try and make this a new Great Patriotic War, and the bad news bears of this is that the great Satan this time, or the great enemy this time, it isn't the fatherland, it's us, and it's us and the British. And of note, I don't know if you've got that picture or if you're even back, Joe, but if you've got that picture, there's a picture
I'm about to bring it up right now
of Zelensky running around with a security detail, and if they aren't all
that
Brits,
was the picture I was going to bring up when everything went crazy, so stand by.
Yeah. If they aren't all Brits, then I am the former Queen of England. So the thing being, doing all of these things will give them more ability to kind of draft people in, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they're a conscript army anyway, but kind of get people on board at home and solidify things as much as Putin is very, very loved by the people over there. The power structure actually is kind of not as happy with him as the people are. So this is this will kind of solidify his position and allow him more leeway to actually bring the hammer down. From my point of view, anyway, it's kind of like the war between the states in that the North, in a lot of ways, fought that war with one hand behind their back, and it still was only superior tactics that allowed the South to survive as long as it did. Well, Russia's been fighting this at first with like one, with all but one finger behind their back. Now it's one hand behind their back, and this will give them the ability to go full bore. From my point of view, are we back in action, Joe?
Sort of. That one story is gone, but there's a story that shows Zelensky walking, and literally none of the security detail is wearing Ukrainian army uniforms, and they're carrying HK-416s, which they don't have in their inventory.
Nope.
It's obviously a British detail, so the Brits are pretty much running things. But here's a couple of things that have come out in the last few minutes that kind of reveal where this is all going. So, Russian lawmaker reveals mobilization plans. We knew that that's what he was about to announce. So here they're doing it, putting out here that they're going to be mobilized. So,
there you go.
That's an important thing. So they're amending the criminal code so that these guys can't leave the country. And that's one of the biggest problems they're having. Go ahead.
Yeah, they were just talking about they were going to bring in 10-year prison terms for refusing. That's where I was in the AP story, actually. The other thing, and the thing I have thus far managed to not say, but I'm going to bring it up now, is that once these things are considered by Russian law, Russian territory, there are certain weapons that brings back on the table. Putin has made noises, and so has Medvedev, about strategic assets, we'll call them, and the West has been screaming, "Oh my God, it's going to be a nuclear war!" And every time I bring up that nuclear thing, everybody just kind of there he is, there's Zelensky, there he is. There's your Zelensky, and that is not Ukrainian soldiers guarding him. That is not.
What's also interesting is that not one of those soldiers has a Ukrainian flag on his gear.
And
they don't
contractors
want to.
Aren't allowed, correct?
Yeah. Well, they are, but they have to show their true country, not the country they're.
Well, yeah, no, that's my point. Contractors aren't allowed to go native that way. It's a crime.
Absolutely. And they can only serve as protection. They can't actually do anything offensive, even though Russia totally violates that, everyone.
Well, there's that. I mean, but this is basically British contractors. I'm sorry, but it just is. Because, well, on our side of the old curtain, right? As Joe and several others have pointed out over and over and over again, contractors tend to do protection details and defensive stuff only. Because the last time they didn't do that, it was executive outcomes, and they tried to put all those fuckers in prison. So these guys are doing protection details with British gear and British weapons. And, so those are contractors. They're not even our contractors. They're Brits.
The one guy wearing a prominent Ukrainian flag is probably Zelensky's actual Ukrainian bodyguard.
There you go.
The rest of the detail isn't. And here's how you know that they're not Ukrainians. They all have matching gear. Not one of the Ukrainians has matching gear.
Yeah.
But anywho, another story while we're waiting for them to give the speech here is another good one here. Time to drop our. I'm not sharing the right tab. Stand by.
You're fine.
Let me share the right tab. It's a better angle here. Another side story to this is this one here that says that it's time to drop our illusions. The West is waging a war to destroy Russia. This is
And this
kind of
is
a
exactly
preview of what
correct.
he's going to say. Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's not
Um,
even wrong. I mean, we've
correct.
said it out loud. Every politician short of, I think, the French prime minister has said it bluntly and out loud.
Yeah. So what's great here is they're also claiming they found some mass graves in Izium. Um, not even sure, because they always are 2 or 3 days after the Russians leave that these mass graves are found. Um, I don't know. I always find them a little bit sketchy because you don't know if it really was Russians, which is entirely possible. They do have a history of it,
Yeah.
or if it's
Well,
Ukrainians who also totally have a history of it, uh, killing who everyone points out as Russian collaborators
yeah.
and shoving them in graves to blame the Russians. And that's actually the story we got out of Bucha, that
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Well, to be honest, the Izium thing, they there was a surprising amount of fairness, at least in the two articles I saw on it, that said the vast majority of the bodies exhumed appeared to have died of shrapnel injuries, probably from bombings and shellings.
Well, that wouldn't have been the Russians bombing and shelling their own positions. So,
So I thought that was surprisingly fair. They pointed out there were some that looked like they'd been tortured, but that the majority of them had died of shrapnel style injuries. And I
yeah,
was
and
really
let's
really surprised that Western outlets said that.
yeah. Now, let's be honest, I'm reading this off of RT, so it's not exactly going to be fair and equal. So, um, but the point is we want to pull this stuff from RT because we're talking about what Vladimir's going to say, right?
Correct.
And he's going to say whatever pops up over here. And here's the big thing. This sentence, this paragraph right here. We must speak frankly and openly. The West is waging a fierce war against the Russian state, using local forces as proxy. And this is covered by the fig leaf of defending democracy. However, what they really want is for Russia to be destroyed forever, irrevocably.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we actually said that was our plan, right? We want to
yeah.
degrade Russia's ability to do anything.
I mean, there
And
was a member of the council who literally was trying to say this should be the goal right before all this went off. You
yes,
know, so
yes,
even in the Council on Future Conflict, there are people that advocate that. It is, it goes all. There are many opinions on this, but the opinions of everybody in power has been let's throw all of the weapons at Ukraine. I mean, what strikes me about this is Zelensky is a nutbag, right? Who will just, as long as he has weapons. Trust me, I'm still watching. As long as he has weapons, he will try and make people fight. And this is a guy who will genocide his own country to try and defend it. And we're going to hand him weapons to see how many Russians he can kill before all of them die.
right.
And I know that's a
Sure.
very bleak view, but I really feel like that's where we're going with this. Or at least that seems to be where all of the major Western weapons builders are going with it.
Right. Well, it's entirely possible, and that's the thing. The problem that I have with it is that at the same time all this is going on, we're ramping up for conflict with China, and we're emptying all of our stores of supplies and ammunition just as that is getting closer to actually happening. So,
Worth
uh,
pointing out, the Chinese have moved into eastern Russia for training exercises to help train the Russian military.
yeah, yeah. Um, and you know what's funny is that a lot of these OSINT sources start reporting random things. Like they were all reporting that there was a Chinese convoy that had just entered Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and I pointed out that unless you get something with a date, time, and GPS location stamp, you can't trust it, right? And it turns out the video is from a week ago, and it was Chinese troops entering the Vostok something.
Vladivostok. I can't
Yeah,
pronounce it.
yeah, but the exercise is called Vostok 22, so it really
But it,
wasn't what they claimed it was.
yeah,
So
and it was just outside of the city of, I can't pronounce it, whatever.
Vladivostok.
Thank you.
Um,
I am not
Apparently
Russian,
Sky News is not really carrying this live, so I'm going to find it real quick
or
somewhere.
else he didn't go.
Oh, that's
Let me just do
possible.
a random YouTube search for Russia
Oh,
for
I think he
Putin.
just delayed it. Hold on. Let me read this right here. Russian President Vladimir Putin will only give up his imperial ambitions. The risk destroying Ukraine and Russia if he recognizes he cannot win the war, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said on Tuesday. This is why we will not accept any peace dictated by Russia. And this is why Ukraine must be able to fend off Russia's attacks. See, they're saying no peace talks. All we want to do is fight. And it's very brave of Scholz to say that when it's Ukrainian boys on the line and not Germans, because he admitted at the beginning of this that Germany could not even defend itself. Um, it doesn't say here when he was set to give a speech, putting it off for another day. All right, guys. So there's going to be no speech tonight. He's going to postpone it until Wednesday night. But I'll tell you what, we will go live and we will carry it. But it looks like everyone is out here trying to push for more war. So this gives the West an entire day to put out propaganda talking about this and talking about
Which is a
what they're
bad
going to
move
do
on
to
his
fight it.
part.
What's that?
Which is a bad move on his part.
This is the second time he's delayed it. I really thought he was going to do it this morning because today marks the 1160th year since the founding of Rus, which became Russia.
Mm.
So I thought he would use it to give another one of his history lessons, talking about how the Rus existed along with Belarus and Kiev Rus. All of these um, different areas that were Russian in nature 1,200 years ago that should be part of the Russian nation again today. He's very famous for giving his history speeches, but apparently something is going on that he doesn't want to do it. I know there's been a lot of talk about a potential coup going on there. There is not. I'm going to tell you that. And there's a lot of talk about the assassination attempt. When you start to peel back the layers on that, it turns out to literally just be nothing but hopium. The only thing they report is that there was a loud noise and there was no damage and all that stuff. So there was no assassination attempt. It was just the West hoping there had been.
Mm.
And I'll remind everyone that anyone who can either kill Putin or overthrow Putin will be 10 times worse for the West than Putin.
This is true.
So,
When you consider this guy has been through thick and thin. All man, whether you like him, whether you hate him, he's not. He's not what you would want to bring home to mama. Okay, let's just say that outright. But whether you like him, whether you hate him, this guy has been through thick and thin and all manner of fucking bullshit for my entire adult lifetime. Now Joe's older than me, so it's not been his entire adult lifetime, but it's been mine. And
and
he's still here, and he's still anybody who can finally take this guy out after all the shit he's been through is a real problem for us.
right. So, to recap, what I think he's going to end up saying tomorrow now, not tonight, is one, he's declaring a general mobilization. That's a very bad thing. That means Ukraine's about to have a really bad day. But here's the
Number
thing, people keep talking about how the Russian military has collapsed. He has used less than 10% of the military that he has available. Okay,
yes,
so he can move a significant amount of troops in there and not upset his readiness anywhere else, especially since China essentially secures his second longest land border. His longest land border is with Finland, and he knows Finland's not about to come to the east on their own. So, so that actually frees up a lot of troops for him. Two, he's going to declare a semi-state of martial law, limiting the movement of people, meaning you can't leave Russia, and that military-age males are going to have some serious restrictions on there. He's also probably going to announce the referendums. We already know they're happening, but officially they're only happening in Donetsk and Luhansk, which we've expected all along. But he's including Kherson and Zaporizhia, which is really two areas I expected him to negotiate away. But one of the key things in Zaporizhia is Mariupol. So he wants that
yeah,
port, he wants that Azovstal plant.
yeah.
Um,
Well, what's left of it? He's going to have to, even if he holds it, he's going to have to spend 5 years rebuilding the damn thing.
Hey, Grozny. Grozny is now one of the most modern cities in Russia, and it was literally leveled to the brick in '99. So,
Relevant, relevant.
so, and that's the other thing I keep telling people when they say, "Well, Russia's on their back heels." Hey, listen, they were on their back heels when they went into Grozny, and they literally took the building apart or the city apart brick by brick, and then just rebuilt it. So, again, China will be there for the reconstruction, right? So, friends helping friends. The other thing that I expect him to announce, in addition to the referendums, in addition to the mobilization and martial law, is some sort of a statement of risk to NATO and the United States in particular, that if you continue to supply arms, we will start to interdict them, or something along those lines. They made this didn't get a lot of press coverage. A few weeks ago, they struck a train that as it was entering Russia, I mean, entering the Ukraine from Poland. What was on that train, though, was a whole bunch of military recruits who had just returned from basic training in the United Kingdom. Now, if you look at the Hague and Geneva Conventions, the fact that the United Kingdom is running the boot camp for the Ukrainian army does make them a combatant. And I think the point of that strike was to say, we know exactly who's coming across that border and when, and we can hit it when we want to. The media covered it as the Russians struck a passenger train. That's half true. It was a passenger train, but it was full of Ukrainian soldiers who had just gotten
Yep.
out of boot camp.
Yeah.
So I think that was the warning. And I think what you'll start to see is more cruise missile strikes along the Polish border of them interdicting things that we're sending across,
Yeah.
as a warning. So I see that.
Although
Uh,
also the Belarusians did something did something in the way of interdicting something a while back that that nobody wants to talk about, and it's also the reason that apparently Germany has decided that they don't want the Belarus to be allowed to participate in European soccer anymore.
well, what Belarus did is they did launch an airstrike or two across their border, but they haven't sent troops. And they also just mobilized and put a bunch of troops on the Polish border.
That's
Um,
okay. That must have been what it was. They beefed
yeah,
up on the Polish border, but it's just that they're doing real things that are with this is we are such not serious countries. They're doing serious things with serious men with serious weapons, and we're going, oh, you can't play soccer anymore.
right, right. Well, here's the thing: is that certain people I know, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, have advocated much more involvement by us. We don't actually have a dog in this fight, and it's silly when we're already being confronted with China, who's chomping at the bit and ready to go. It's silly for us to commit to this. And then
It's
Joe Biden committed us to the defense of Taiwan, Well, at the same time, Nancy Pelosi, for some reason, as if it's her role, traveled to Yerevan, Armenia, where she committed American troops to the defense of Armenia.
Oh,
What's
Christ.
even weirder about that is that currently Iran is moving 50,000 troops to the Armenian border. They
So,
intend to enter the conflict on the side of Armenia. In other words, Nancy Pelosi just committed us to fighting alongside the Iranians in service of a member of the CSTO slash a Russian ally
so
against our ally
there's,
Turkey.
well, so, or sometimes ally Turkey. That
Right.
said, that said, so there's two things that could come from this. Iran has, as much as they hate Russia, they have also always been, well, since the Ayatollahs and the Islamic Revolution, they have always been a very dependable client state of Russia. And it's worth noting, as much as a ton of us don't agree with what Obama did, in the literal pallets of cash and what have you, when the Warsaw Pact looked scary enough that it was going to be a severe problem, we reached out to China to split them away, right?
Yeah.
And that's a card that's played, and they've realized that it's that everything is bullshit and that it's probably easier to just infiltrate our country and what have you. So we're not playing that card again. But Iran, in terms of client states, it could be another China play, and that went so well for us the first time.
Well, yeah, that's possible. I want to talk about Firewise's comment here, though. Putin
Mm.
wants the whole border of the Black Sea. Yes, here's an important part that a lot of people haven't remembered. When they invaded Georgia in 2008, they didn't just take South Ossetia; they took Abkhazia, and Abkhazia is the Georgian coast along the Black Sea. With what he now has most of the Black Sea in his control. And I'll tell you right now that if it wasn't for Turkey holding the Bosphorus Strait, they would no longer be a member of NATO, right?
Is this the
Because
part? Is this the part where I point out that nobody, literally nobody in NATO ever actually liked the Turks, and one of the founding members or original members of NATO really, 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 really hates the Turks, but geographically we needed the Turks at the time.
yes, and we still need them because they hold that key waterway.
Yeah, they hold
We
that
would
little
not
channel.
have a way into the Black Sea if it wasn't for them.
Hmm.
So, so that's it, and that's why we were so worried during that dust up in Syria between Turkey and Russia. When Turkey and Russia got very friendly at the end of it, that really set off some alarm bells in Washington D.C. But
And meanwhile, Turkey has decided that they're willing to be the black marketeers for Russia right now, and that's setting off a lot more alarm bells.
well, the other problem too, though, is that Turkey is in the Nagorno-Karabakh, uh, Armenia-Azeri conflict on the Azeri side, which upsets Russia. It upsets us. It upsets the whole thing. And Russia is very upset that the TV-2 drone is what turned the tide in Nagorno-Karabakh in 2020.
Yeah.
The same one that's giving them problems in the Ukraine. Now, I want to talk about this article on the screen here. The Serbian leader warns of imminent global war. He says that, listen, all this stuff is going on, and literally no one is talking about turning down the temperature. No one is talking about attempting to have peace talks in Ukraine. We know that Serbia is already on the edge of a civil war.
So
And
so did Vukic come and hang out at your house last weekend? Because you've been talking about this for like 2.5 months.
no, no, but I've been, yeah, he was like, hey, man, this is the stuff you've been saying. I have been talking about this for a couple of months that we need to be watching the Baltics and that these things are really going on. And when it started happening in his back door, he was like, oh, hey, this is real, right? So, um, anyway, he's saying that you see crises everywhere and no one is doing anything about it. Um, and the UN is literally non-existent in this. So it's going to be a little bit interesting.
And
Meanwhile, as all this is happening, another crisis has popped up that no one had on their card. Even us at the council, we had no clue. Uh, when Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan started throwing punches at each other, we were like, "What just happened there?" Um, so pretty much, Tajikistan has gotten the bad end of it. I'm sorry, no, Kyrgyzstan has gotten the bad end of it. Tajikistan has killed a bunch of their citizens on the border, and no one really knows why. The nearest thing I can figure is someone behind the scenes trying to reestablish the Turkmen Empire, and there's only one guy that I think would be doing that. And
Erdogan,
wow, lo and behold, he's involved in another conflict that just flared up there in Armenia and Azerbaijan. Um,
relevant. At the same time, didn't we just try and color revolution one of them?
well, actually, Stan is of
No,
the
that was
position, and
Kazakhstan, wasn't it?
yeah, it was Kazakhstan, but I also am of the belief that we are attempting a color revolution in Armenia right now. So that's why Nancy Pelosi was there. I mean, the only other way would be to have Victoria Nuland show up there.
Well,
Um,
to be fair, this gets into holy war lines, but to be fair, um, Armenia is the only Christian nation in the entire fucking area for a long ways,
yeah,
and this is why they get murdered brutally every 120 years or so. And yeah, so on that front, it's worth it to in as much as we put we put all the Jews right next to a whole bunch of people who are going to try and kill them. Is supporting one little Christian island in the middle of a whole bunch of people that want to kill them gets us another client state.
right, right.
That said, holy wars are the worst things ever, and we've got two different ones trying to kick off at the same time.
Here's the craziest thing about Armenia and Azerbaijan. So you have the Christians and the Muslims aligning together against other Muslims and the Israelis. It is probably the weirdest holy war going
That's
on.
true. That's
Um,
true.
and on Andrew's question here, no, they won't try a color revolution in Hungary because they will not pull it off.
A
Orban is deeply loved by the people. Orban is pretty secure.
A and B, when they fail, Orban will leave the EU and will air every fucking bit of the dirty laundry.
Yep. And
And
this is an
if
important part.
Azerbaijan gas go through Armenia, well,
It
the
does.
Armenians have a widget to use.
Yeah. So that whole thing, we're kind of hoping that dies down, but I don't see it doing that. What all of these things are that Vucic is talking about is that the power vacuum created by a weak leader in the United States, as I was warning was going to happen, has caused every regional strongman in the world to decide that now is the time. Russia is distracted with a war in Ukraine. China wants Taiwan, and the US has weak leadership. So literally every strongman in the world is going to do what he can to push his neighbors. We
Yeah.
saw Venezuela push their neighbor to the point where he influenced the election and changed the outcome and got the outcome he wanted. So now instead of having an ally, we have Venezuela and Colombia as a communist bloc at the top of South America. Um, we're seeing Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba all releasing prisoners to send them to the United States in order to attempt to destabilize us further.
Yeah.
And then we see all these little regional conflicts starting to flare up. And let's not forget that Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner got the sabers rattling down in Argentina about Las Malvinas Islands, or as we know them, the Falklands. So all of these things are just coming to a head. It's going
So,
to be wild.
hang on. I need an intro for this.
Oh
God
boy.
damn it. My computer decides to break at the moment I need it to not break. I'm so very embarrassed now.
Hey, Firewise is not wrong on this comment right here about Tajikistan. Uh, International alliance profiteering. They've been playing China and Russia money for decades. Getting a third buyer is good business. Absolutely right. But here's the craziest thing. They're fighting with fellow members of the CSTO. So that's kind of interesting, right? And for those who don't know, the CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, is Russia's answer to NATO. Um, and here's the thing. You could talk all you want about how bad Russia's performed inside of Ukraine. When the CSTO deployed from every one of their countries into Kazakhstan, they locked it down in under 48 hours.
Relevant.
So,
All right. So, so I
yours,
want to enter a certain phase of space here, but you should show that little thing that I'm sharing with you real quick before we do
oh
it.
boy. Oh boy. Let's remember this is my channel. I don't want it banned.
Here is
Nothing.
what everyone else here. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the frickin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
So we're gonna enter Alex Jones territory for a second, in that literally everything that is going wrong right now is going wrong in the way of fuel as a exportable resource. And there is this thing called the World Economic Forum, and this thing called the Great Reset, and this thing called a 2030 plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll point out that just about 2 hours ago, there was an explosion in Toledo, Ohio, uh, at a oil refinery. There are multiple injuries. The fire is still going strong, although it is raining pretty heavily here and there. It's about 40 miles from my house. Um, but surprising, right? What timing? What great timing that we would have
I
another oil
that's
refinery fire.
that's what I was kind of getting at. You can drop my screen there, and then yeah, let's show everybody the refinery fire, because it's kind of impressive,
Oh,
just a little bit.
stand by. Let me find that. Oregon refinery. There we go. Let's see. Update, 2 people injury. Oh, right here. Let's go with this one. Let me share that tab right quick.
Do CSTO troops wear little blue helmets? No, those
No.
communist bastards of the
They wear
UN.
little green helmets.
That's true. They are little green
That's
men.
what the little green men come. Chrome
That's where the joke.
tab right
That's where
here.
the joke of the last few years of the Milvet community saying "little green men" comes from.
No, you can't send me notifications. Oh my God, I'm not leaving. Okay, scroll down. No thanks. Here's a fire.
Is this the
I'm
one
not
on
gonna
the Oregon
show
coast?
because it's really some dude going on. I'm sorry.
Is this the one on the Oregon coast?
What was that, sniper?
Is this the BP facility
This
on
is
the
in
Oregon
Oregon,
coast?
Ohio, which is part of Toledo. Oregon,
Oh, okay,
Ohio.
never mind. Because there is a tiny BP refinery in Oregon.
Oh my God. Never gonna.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Just send it to me, and then I'll share it. Shut it down.
Lort. Lort with a T.
Shut it down and send it to me, and I'll share it, and we'll make it work.
I did, dude. Chill.
Yeah,
Oh, whoops. I didn't send it to you. I sent it the wrong spot.
There we go.
Stand by.
That's fine.
Listen, don't even. There, take that.
All right. No, no, no.
All right, we will get this fire on the screen here. It's pretty massive.
Share screen. Crews respond to BP refinery.
I've never seen a flame that big.
We're tracking breaking news as we come on the air.
There it is.
BP workers were badly burned. We don't know what caused the incident, but we do know there was a very large response from firefighters from Northwest Ohio.
All right, so I'm going to mute it so you don't get copy struck.
Right.
But
that fire's not going to get put out by the rain. I'm telling you that right now.
No, it's not. All right. And apparently we're done showing the pictures. There we go.
Yeah, someone told me, I don't know, I don't believe that after seeing all the fake footage in Ukraine. I'm like, listen, I've driven across the bridge that they drive by on there, and that's literally, that's real. That's
all right,
real.
so I'm bumping through this. And there is one thing interesting that they do put out. They put out a graphic of what it does in a day. Produces gas, petroleum, gas, jet fuel, and propane at 155,000 barrels a day.
Yes. And
that's
and
a big
one. It goes all throughout the Midwest. So we're talking Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, gas prices going up, probably Indianapolis.
So yeah, I'm gonna go get my aluminum foil out, and I'm gonna go. So we're starting Holy Wars, and we're starting World War III, and we're having activist sabotage, and we're having an administration that wants to kill us as net exporters, and the WEF wants the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Rule 39, there is no such thing as coincidence.
Yeah. Well, here's what I would watch for in the coming days. First of all, I already told you what we're going to see on the speech tomorrow. I would watch for a massive Russian response in the north to kind of push back. Like I said, Putin will never end the war on his back foot. He's going to have to push back. So I would watch for that. I would watch for increasing political violence in the U.S., and I would watch for further brush fires throughout the world as the powers that be, the U.S., Russia, and China, lose control because they're so focused on other things.
Yeah.
Like here, we're just so focused on pudding pops for the big guy that we don't even know what's going on. So guys, this is what we're gonna do. We're coming up on an hour. We're gonna call it here, but we will plan on doing this tomorrow when he gives his speech. So watch for a thing to go up.
I will make myself available for you if it does go off tomorrow, and nobody else can come to your aid. I will make myself available for that. That said, I say put him up. Nope.
Yeah.
One up. That does seem to be just the best way of stating everything we've said in the last hour.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
And then this one is literally not happening, and Andrew knows that. That's why he put it like that.
Indeed, he did.
What's going to happen is tomorrow all the media is going to talk about he canceled it because there's a coup underway. There isn't. If there was a coup underway in Russia, you'd be seeing live video of gunfire right now. Russia's coups are always bloody.
That's relevant. Even the beginning of the end of the Union started out bloody and then ended not.
Well, yeah, what the Yeltsin thing in the Duma building and all that. Yeah, that
started
that was really
nasty.
ugly in the beginning.
The first 4 or 5 hours were real nasty, maybe a little bit longer than that, and then everybody went, "Wait, no, let's not be crazy."
When everyone was worried that the Taman guards were about to go toe to toe with KGB Alpha, they were like, "This is going to be bad," and everyone backed off. So It was
Yeah.
pretty bad.
So there you go. Well, I'll have my popcorn ready for tomorrow then. Relevant.
All right. Well, everyone, have a great night, and thanks for watching.